difficult. The Prabhupada said, sex desire is like an itch. Good example. When you have an itch, you scratch it. And if you keep scratching it, when you're scratching it, it goes away. But as soon as you stop, it comes back. And each time it comes back. So stronger. So sex desire is like that. So you just tolerate it. It's like you have to tolerate the itch. So tolerate that. And then go on with your devotional service. You have to understand that these things are unnatural for the soul. You don't need them. Prabhupada said, licit, illicit, it's all illicit. Even licit sex, that is sex under regulation within the Grihastha ashram, is, well, in one sense, from a higher principle, unnatural. Because the soul has nothing to do with anything with you. But it may be necessary to make progress for that living entity, to go through that. And then finish that business, and then go on to complete renunciation at the end. So, but one thing you learn about Grihastha ashram, and this is what I've heard from many Grihasthas, is that you learn that ultimately it's all suffering. In other words, I guess the best understanding of Grihastha ashram is that you realize you don't need it. That's all. Because you have that desire, it appears to be a need. But it's the desire that creates the need, not the soul. The soul needs Krishna only. Yes.
Although Vedic scriptures are full of these descriptions of horror of Grihastha life, and also stories of frustrated Grihasthas pass through all this and realize in less of time. But still, even in Vedic time, from age of 5, boys sent to the Gurukula, and was the same education, or the same education undertaken by those who are Naishikis, as was also for Bhakturan, who married later on. So this terms of lack of education seems to me really unclear, because it seems to me that at least in 95% of all humans is tendency to enter the Grihastha
Generally, yes, because
even you know truth about Grihastha life, education is the same.
yeah.
But still, very small number of them advance from each other. Most of them get married.
Yeah, that's the way of the world. And that's the conditioned nature of the living being. That tendency is so strong, as we described earlier, how much we are afflicted and affected by previous conditioning, that it goes so deep. That only when you do have, what we say, the best of all training, then you can actually see what is the difference between those who are actually brahmacharis and those who are actually, but will always gravitate to the Grihastha ashram. That's our duty as a society, to give the best training away, and best opportunities. So a person who could stay within the celibate ashram, who doesn't because the training wasn't there, or the association wasn't there, that's a lack on our part. So it's our duty to give the best training. But we can't speak from ideal conditions, because they're not. So in less than ideal conditions, one has to somehow really, if one's determined to stay free from that type of association, because I think the greatest loss in spiritual life is the time that is used for other things. Grihastha life means to divide your time. Brahmacharya means light, and means to be able to focus fully, 24/7, on Krishna consciousness. That's all you have to really concern yourself. You don't have to worry about getting a job, supporting a wife, and children, and then education, and their health care, and so on. You know, it's endless. It's mentality is endless. So that's the advantage. But yeah, but in less than ideal conditions, what do? As we mentioned yesterday, we need to somehow or other develop strong relationships among brahmacharis to support each other in our struggle for Krishna consciousness. That's necessary. And that may have to be somewhat of an individual effort, if it's not always given by the society or by the temple. As we develop friendships, strong friendships with other brahmacharis, we find that we're not looking for that association outside anymore. It's a greater, what we say, gives greater strength to our brahmacharya. Otherwise we have to struggle, it's too hard. I think Bhakti Rasani Maharaj is here. He, for many years he was not only a brahmachari in Champani temple, but the leader of the brahmacharis there. And he can tell you what were some of the programs and how, we say, effective those programs were in bringing about really strong and very, what we say, fixed up brahmacharis. And there were certain principles that need to be adopted in order to bring that about, along with proper guidance and leadership. All right, would you like to say something? There we go.
You put it very nicely.
There's a record on.
You explained things very nicely. Yeah, the importance of training and the proper atmosphere. That's very important. Also, perhaps in the Vedic times, coming back to Taruna Prabhu's question, many times the Gurukul was run by Grihasthas, where the Guru and his wife took care of the children. So it was like a homely situation. So the atmosphere was not like we have in our brahmacharya ashrams today, where there's so much emphasis on don't get married, be celibate. You see, it wasn't that kind of a strong orientation and emphasis like that in all cases. In cases where you had sadhus living who were celibates in an ashram, then yes, there was that kind of atmosphere. But where there were householders, usually it was like an atmosphere where you grew up with them, although there was brahmacharya, but the atmosphere was homely and there was mother and, so till he was 25, he was there. So that could be one factor also.
Thank you.
Could you tell us something about Chapati, some of the problems Maharaj was referring to?
If you like.
Well, basically we used to have, initially in the early days we had quite a rowdy lot. It wasn't a good brahmacharya ashram. When I first started, people were not well behaved and didn't have a good service attitude, they were rough in speech. They were not philosophical in nature. Some of them were not sincere and responsible in their services. But gradually as the preaching increased and other young men started coming in who came out of philosophical conviction, then gradually things started changing. And then by having regular classes for the brahmacharis, I think that's what really slowly turned the tables.